For Prince Charles, it was virtually love at first sight when he met Camilla Parker Bowles on the polo field in 1970. However, life took the pair in separate directions, different paths and tying the knot with others. But that didn't stop them. Fate, it seemed, intervened, and the two found their way back to each other, even after a series of very public stumbling blocks, including a certain illicit 6-minute phone call recording that was leaked to the press. This was then closely followed by the infamous ITV interview that Charles gave in 1994, admitting to an affair and shocking the nation in a process. In this episode, we'll be exploring the most controversial moments for Charles and Camilla's journey, separating fact from fiction to get to the bottom of what actually happened. Fans of The Crown were dismayed in season 4 when the, tampongate scandal was avoided entirely by the show's writers. Actor Josh O'Connor, who played Prince Charles in the series, even said he required assurances it wouldn't be filmed before he took on the role. However, in season 5, it is here and in all its gory details. Tampongate, or Camillagate as it's perhaps more appropriately known, refers to a recorded pre-1990 telephone conversation between Charles and his lover at the time, Camilla Parker Bowles. Royal sources believe the tape was recorded by an amateur radio enthusiast who was just so casually scanning the airwaves and came across their private conversation. I struggle to believe this version of events, but it was first published in Australia and quickly found its way to British shores and into the hands of the tabloids as it exploded onto their front pages. At its time of release to the public, Charles and Diana were now officially separated. It was the date of the recording, however, that left royalists in disarray. This recording had taken place when Charles and Diana were still together, and appeared, at least to the public at the time, as a happily married couple. It was well known that Camilla and Charles had once upon a time been an item. However, despite a positive and happy start to their relationship, they decided to part ways. Charles was spending a significant amount of time away at sea, and Camilla moved on to marry Andrew Parker Bowles. If the timing of the tape was bad, leaking it only a month after his split with Diana could be argued the content was even worse. During this 6-minute call, Charles and Camilla engaged in what could only be described as a highly sexualized conversation, with Charles even suggesting at one point that he should just live in her trousers. He followed this up by joking that he might come back as a Tampax to make this a reality, and hence the name Tampongate was born. The entirety of the tape's transcript was published in the press, as the world was given quite possibly the most intimate glimpse, and private one, into the life of the royal family to date. The Crown's portrayal of this event is surprisingly more sympathetic than you'd think, with Dominic West, who's taken on the role of Prince Charles in season 5, describing it just as two middle-aged lovers being sweet to each other. West cited the sympathy he now has for the couple and their situation. However, that is not a sentiment that was shared by the public nor the press at the time. The scandalous nature of this tape and the date that it took place really prompted questions from the press and the public over Charles's suitability as future king. Someone even suggesting he should step down, as he had failed to uphold the standards of the family and also the Church of England. The newspapers strongly defended their decision to publish the intimate tape, stating that the British public deserved to know the truth, no matter how embarrassing it was to Charles and Camilla at the time. This was emphasised by the editor of the Sunday Mirror at the time, claiming, why should the people of Britain be treated with such hypocrisy and contempt? The tape's publication also served as further evidence of an affair between the two which had long been rumoured. It also provided great source material, as the script was already pre-written, for the writers of The Crown this season. Diana's popularity was on the rise, and this only served to boost her support from the public and to put a dent in the convictions of Charles's supporters. Camilla was also the victim of heavy criticism, and later stated that she was scrutinised for such a long time that you just have to find a way to live with it. With Prince Charles on the defense and facing unprecedented amounts of questions and negative press, he felt the need to speak out publicly to address all the rumours. Therefore, on 19th of June 1994, an ITV documentary titled Charles, the Private Man, the Public Role hit British television screens. It was a show intended to commemorate the 25th anniversary of Charles's investiture as the Prince of Wales. It was a 2.5-hour-long documentary, a personal look into his life featuring several interviews with the man himself. If Charles wanted an audience, well, he certainly got one, as 13 million Brits across the country tuned in to watch the documentary. The public was so keen to watch, actually, that the National Grid reported a major power surge after the documentary had aired. In the special, Charles defended his position as future king and his decision to split from Diana. However, despite all the wholesome footage of Charles playing with his kids and dogs and attending charity functions, it was those sit-down interviews that generated all the discussion. In this show, Charles finally admits that he had been unfaithful to Diana, but, in his words, only once that it had become clear that the marriage had irretrievably broken down. He stopped short of directly naming Camilla, however, only referring to her as his dear friend in the programme. Despite this, at a press conference the next day, his private secretary, Richard Aylard, confirmed that the mystery woman in question was indeed Camilla Parker Bowles. It's safe to say the revelations made in this documentary shocked the nation and the world. Cynics saw the special as simply a public relations exercise, a kind of form of propaganda designed simply to generate sympathy and restore some of Charles's damaged public image after the scandal of tampongate. It's hard to say that this really worked, as actually it led to more criticism pouring in for the prince. Various members of the church voiced their concerns over Charles taking the coronation oath one day. And certain MPs also voiced their own personal outrage, directing negative adjectives at the prince such as selfish and self-pitying. The public seemed on the whole to agree with one thing, with 2/3 of respondents from a telephone poll conducted by the Sun newspaper voting that they believed the prince was unfit to one day become king. The general feeling from the public was that this was nothing more than a desperate attempt to wrestle back popularity from Diana, all at a time when her stock in the public eye was rising at a relentless rate. Charles's supporters, on the other hand, yes there were some, pointed to his honesty and bravery in making such a conclusive public statement, and claimed that this was just yet another example of unfair media treatment for the poor prince. Well, it's easy to see why Season 5 of The Crown has reportedly triggered severe concern in royal circles. Prince Charles was proclaimed King Charles on September 10th, 2022. Camilla is now officially Queen Consort, and now they will watch on with the rest of us as their well-documented past indiscretions are broadcasted around the world for entertainment purposes. What follows will be fascinating. Is this going to resurface past feelings of anger from the British public? Or will they feel sorry for the couple and see a pair destined for one another and rally behind their new rulers? If you enjoyed this episode, then please check out the rest of the series as we continue to break down the most shocking moments from Season 5 of The Crown.